part 1, I marvelled at the arc of Fear's episode 100. But what is an internal arc? It seems facile and obvious to indicate it involves change itself, but one way of mapping that change is through a straight inversion of a character trait or character concept, a process I will argue is key to both trauma and a fictional character's undoing. You choose your key concept for an arc. For example, Rick's in season 7 might be conviction or hope and represent as a time bar. The key then is cutting out the middle to structure how the concept shifts from first to last scenes. Another good example for an exploration of this and Shay's concept of the undoing of character would be The Walking Dead season 3. Here, the governor acts as both a mirror and mirror inversion to Rick. Laurie's death in episode 4 initiates a descent into madness for Rick that is juxtaposed with the stability of both the governor's early demeanour and the environment of Woodbury. In fact, later indications are that the governor experienced a similar trauma before stabilising the community there. Protagonist and antagonist, both apparently suffering trauma induced by this post-apocalyptic world, begin and end from mirror opposite poles, from the beginning of their arcs to their completion. You could outline several concepts here, but madness and its impact on leadership would be apt for many of the lead antagonist and lead protagonist character interactions in that season. Rick is visibly unhinged due to Laurie's death and the pressures of leadership in a stressful environment. This madness notably forcing Tyrese and Sasha into the arms of the surface rational governor and his Woodbury idol. As the season progresses, the final third sees Rick regain his sanity and competence, but the governor loses it entirely, demonstrating his absence of sanity and finally, absence of moral leadership by killing his own people. Returning to season 7, we know that Rick's direct opposing of Negan has resulted in Rick's broken will in the first third of the season's arc. This returns strongly in the final third, paying off with a near duplication of Carl in jeopardy, but with a completely different result. Rick is not broken but determined. Enter Tiger, which is a nice signalling metaphor. As I'll argue in later videos, this mirroring of a physical act, but with an internal character inversion payoff, is key to both trauma narratives and to trauma recovery. And Fear the Walking Dead season 3, episode 4 is replete with mirroring, which is the focus of the next video. Deeper than the basic internal arc though, Rick's broken will tied into his responsibilities as leader, an interest of Jonathan Shay, author of Achilles in Vietnam, discussed later. In his early Alexandria behaviour, Rick very much mirrors the governor in season 4. We therefore have the risks already played out for the viewer on a different stage, with Alexandria's Jesse and Sam being both mirrors for the governor's Lily and Megan, and all 4 being post-traumatic proxies for characters from backstory. As a viewer, I was personally sympathetic with both protagonist and antagonist here, who at different points struggled in vain to maintain the safety of their communities, but their previous traumatic losses saw their behaviours spiral out of control in over-enthusiastically trying to prevent a repeat of their previous trauma. This is where internal conflict comes to mirror external conflict in both fiction and trauma. Jesse, Sam, Lily and Megan represent not only ghosts of the past that might succeed in overwriting past trauma positively, but also previous versions of Rick and the governor that they both unconsciously want to return to and are also alternatively terrified of. E.g., they desperately want to return to the romanticised stability of the past, but are terrified of returning to the loss tied to it. The traumatised character's desperate attempt to not have a particular situation play out again is also a desperation not to return back to their own internal experience of pain, yet the memory of that pain drives their bad decisions. This, we will touch on later, is key to what is known as the wound.